Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to 10 Minutes with Kuhle, the only show where we are able to tell you the truth, the only show where we produce real analysis of this current situation that is happening in South Africa, ladies and gentlemen. Today's video is a very sad video, but if you've been living under a rock and you didn't know, it is true. The wokest, communistic, EFF, MK included, the list goes on, SASCO through the ANC, are kicking out white students from South African tertiary institutions. Now, this has been happening right across the country, right? It has been happening and people have been silent about it. But I'm going to call it out. I'm going to call it out. I, for one, went to varsity a while back, actually. No, a few years ago. Not a while back, a few years ago, right? I saw this firsthand. I saw it firsthand. I saw firsthand how university administration would not allow white children to come in, even though, and understand this very well, even though they had gotten better marks than certain black individuals. Because there was this conception of we should have previously disadvantaged students coming in, So white students right off the back, did not really get access or fair access into tertiary education. And I saw this, mind you. I saw it with my own eyes, I don't want to mention the institution because I don't want to receive a letter of, wanting to sue me or something. So I saw it. All I can say is it is a varsity in KZN. You can make up for yourself which one it is. So yeah, where, students were being forced to, white students were unfortunately rather not allowed to access higher education because, well, there's this belief that they were previously advantaged, right? So now let's leave that aside because today's video is not about that. But today's video is actually about white students being forcefully kicked out of varsity education, right, by the EFF and MK at varsity institutions where there are few white students. Let's play the video. So the first video that I'll play for you guys is by Dr. Umar Johnson. I don't even want to call him a doctor. He doesn't deserve it. I was about to swear. And someone asked me so kindly on the comments, please don't swear. And I said I'll stick to it. So let me not swear. This other, nonsensical doctor who is supposedly from the US, but he's got Ghanaian citizenship, and he just hates white people, He just preaches white hate and all that stuff. Let's just hear what he has to say, because this guy, from what I've heard, is in South Africa at the moment, and he's actually in KZN, and he actually went to varsities in KZN to go and preach about rubbish, about hating white people and the fallacy of, black people don't need white people. Hear the video for yourself.
Are there any good white people in the world?
There may be, but it doesn't matter. And you know why? No matter how good an individual white person may be, they have an obligation to look out for the best interests of the white race. Therefore, no matter how well-meaning they may be, at the end of the day, they're going to close ranks with their own people. Every white person has an obligation to promote and protect white privilege. If there were so many good white people in the world as so many black multiculturalists claim, why is apartheid still in effect? Why do you have 200,000 homeless black people in South Africa? Why are there 3,000 South Africans who own more than the bottom 32 million of South Africa? Why has the income equality in South Africa gotten worse since April 27th of 1994? Yeah. If you got all these good white people, we should see some structural evidence of their good deeds. Show me the good deeds of those good demons, and I'll change my mind.
You've heard the garbage that he's preaching. He's speaking about, inequality in South Africa, saying that it's at its highest. You've just got to understand what that inequality ratio actually says, It's got nothing to do about black or white. Please just understand it for what it is. Basically, what it's saying is they are super rich and they're super poor, right? I wouldn't be happy to be a country like Malawi where, oh gosh, everyone is just effing poor, everyone right across is just poor. So, there's no inequality because, oh gosh, we all don't have bread. So he comes here, he speaks as if he knows what's going on in South Africa, while he's some black racist from the United States who's got very little to understanding of what's going on here. Busy preaching nonsensical, felonious rubbish in this country. That aside, what else does he speak about? He speaks about white people possibly being good and saying that, they protect their agenda. That is rubbish. If that was true, you wouldn't have the Peter Creels or the Dan Quotas of this world. Not that I like them, by the way. I don't like them. I honestly feel like that's just leftist, but I'm just saying, trust me, there's no white interest down that road. There really isn't. That is a lie. Uma Johnson, I won't even call you a doctor. I won't even refer to you a doctor. You don't deserve that title. Probably studied some African studies nonsense at a varsity. Now, ladies and gentlemen, obviously when it comes to race relations, I'll show you the videos as we go. When it comes to race relations in this country, especially varsity institutions, the big varsity in question happens to be Stellenbosch University, right? Because, well, it's always in the news when it comes to race relations, because supposedly there's the fallacy that Stellenbosch University is vastly dominated by Afrikaans people, which is false. Believe it or not, black people make up the biggest proportion of people at that university versus Afrikaans people. Just saying. Now, I want you to just listen to this woke student who just preaches a lot of garbage. Just listen to what he has to say about his experience at Stellenbosch.
A lot of black people just aren't angry enough about what racism and apartheid has done to this country. I think we all want to live in a world where color doesn't matter, but it really does. And it just irks me that so many of us don't really understand what racism and apartheid have done to us. I was always in environments where there was a lot of diversity. There were white people, there were black people, there were Indians, there were coloreds. It was never really an environment where white people were the majority. And then I went to Stellenbosch University. And I remember people always telling me, it was usually older people, even my dad cautioned me, said, you just need to be very careful about your mental health when you go into an environment like that. And I still chose to go because I was like, I'll experience it myself. I just want to experience it for myself. And also, I was one of those people that was naive about race. I was naive
where he speaks about, race relations, about money. What the hell does money have to do with race relations? Okay, what does it have to do? When I got to the place where I studied a few years ago, I was fortunate to be one of the fortunate guys, Really, I was. Are you now going to turn that into a race issue? There are black people with money, so as there are white people with money. And there's the same thing as there are white poor students, and there are black poor students. Now, I don't know what rubbish this is about psychologically being ready. You can just see he's part of this wokest, leftist, naive side. Hopefully, he'll grow up, even though I've got very little hope about that happening. I've got extremely little hope about that happening. Now, the next video I want to show you happens to be at Tease, another university always in the news about race relations. And there's a guy called Obakeng. He's the leader of the EFF in Tshwane as a whole. He is also the MMC for environment. He was promoted after this video, actually. He was actually promoted to being MMC, believe it or not. In this video, he blocks white students from accessing the campus, right? He blocks them. He says, no white students allowed. Please watch the video.
It's a video girl.
No one is calling them towards. Hey, well, we don't know. We're only black students. Only black students to enter. Only black students. Go back.
Oh my god.
Only black students.
Oh my god. Sure. Hectic.
So in that video, I hope you can clearly see what Obakeng has done here. Obakeng, this guy who has never faced crimes for his actions that he has actually committed. He never faces anything. This is the same guy, by the way, in council, and I was there actually. I think it was 2 years ago when I was still politically active. Same guy, mind you, who said, "I want to taste the blood of an Afrikaner." That's what he said. "I want to taste the blood of an Afrikaner." Okay, didn't go to jail, case dropped. Cool. We move. What rubbish does he say next? "No white students allowed in campus." How is this man still not in jail? How can it be? If this guy was a white guy, let's just paint the story the other way around. If this oak was a white guy, this country would be burning. People would be looking for his house. EFF would be striking at his house. White people unfortunately can't even go to his house and strike because they'll say, "Oh, you guys are defending racism." That is how crazy racist this country has gone to. It has gone to the dogs. I actually don't blame the apartheid government when they said they were protecting this country from communists when they were referring to the ANC. It's very visible now that they were so right about protecting the country from communists. It really is. It is very evident that these are the fools that are in charge of society. Let me show you. Let's go back to that Stellenbosch conversation that woke. You could see him. That, yeah, I won't go too much, otherwise people will call me all sorts of names. That woke guy and all sorts. Let's go back to that video, right? And I'm not saying we're going to watch it again. Let's go to Stellenbosch now. Let's go and see if this is really true that, white people are evil at Stellenbosch University. Please do watch this video where the EFF storms into class to try and remove, students who happen to be white students who are studying in that class. Watch. So there you go. You see it for yourself. Some Marxist, Fanoniist black dude, who's just there disturbing a lecture. I don't want to lie to you. It's your choice if you want to strike. But for God's sakes, please go and strike outside. Just strike the hell outside. Just strike out there. Don't disturb those who, number one, have paid for their learning, who have paid to be there, and who are choosing to stay in class. Not all situations are a fairy tale, my friend. They are not. They are not. And these communists make it as if those students inside there have it as they wish. No, they don't. I know many people in my varsity days who went to, class without having eaten, but it was a choice. They didn't go and join the strike outside. They didn't. They chose that I'm going to stay in this class. I'm going to, better myself. For Pete's sake, does the university deal with NSFAS administration? No, they don't. That is government. Go and strike at the union buildings or Phala Phala. Why are you striking where they've got no power over that? That is the problem with the communists. They lack knowledge They don't want to learn. They want to cause disruption so that our lives can be a living hell like theirs. We've got to call out these racist EFF people. We've got to call them out. It just pains me to see this rubbish. And if you think it ends there, please, I beg you, watch this video as well. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you found today's video enlightening. Ladies and gentlemen, and this is just a personal request between yourselves and I. There's a student in Stellenbosch, if you remember, an Afrikaans student who was accused of peeing, right, on a black child. The way the story was portrayed, right, was on a black child's laptop or something a few years ago, right? The student went to court and went through that whole process, eventually found not guilty, blah, 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 right? If anyone knows that student, could they please get me in contact with him? You know my email address. I'll pin it down at the bottom of the video in the description. Please get me in contact with that student. I really want to expose what is going on in varsities. And I appreciate that the black student in that story did say that he understood that, no, look, the student here did that by mistake. It was not intentional. So I also appreciate that. So I'd just like to get those two, together in one room just to come and share the falsehood that is being shared on media about race relations, which is not true. Because the poor guy, the poor Afrikaans student is now not in varsity. So, ladies and gentlemen, this has been 10 minutes with Kuhle, nearly 20 actually, but 10 minutes with Kuhle. If you like the work we do and you want to support the work we do, please do, sign up for membership. It's as cheap as 20 Rand. It helps in burning the truth. It really does. As well as you can buy me a coffee by sending a super chat in the comments below. Ladies and gentlemen, please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, because only 10% of the people who watch me are subscribed. It really helps in, growing the channel, as well as sharing the truth. Please do watch where your good donations to the channel have gone to. I'll be showing some pictures right now at the end of the video for you to see where your kind donations have been going to. Till next time, bye.